Hello one and all, Jasper here, and something that has always frustrated me is the continued positive popularity that Battle of the Bastards has enjoyed for almost a decade now. Every time I check out posts online, I see people compare it to the likes of Blackwater Bay, Hardhome, and the Battle of Castle Black, and for Christ's sake, some people even say it's as good as Helm's Deep. You can piss right off with any of that kind of talk. To paraphrase a quote from a dead YouTube channel, Battle of the Bastards is like a beautiful painting of fruit. You can see the expertise in the strokes of the brush. You almost want to reach out and grab a piece of it. But at the end of the day, it's just a bowl of fruit. While the techniques used cannot be questioned, I have little interest in a painting of fruit. I mean, I already made a video talking about how terrible the writing is. But hey, what if it could be better? I may lack acting, directing, stunt work, music, and other stuff you need to make a good episode in a series, but I have the writing capabilities on par with a turnip, which means improving this episode will be a simple matter. Now, let's put some restrictions on myself. While the best way to improve this battle would be to scrap all the episodes until Season 4 and start from there, I do not have the time or patience to do that, so I will only be changing things that happen in this episode. Also, everyone has to die, still dies. Can't save one, Small John, Ramsay, or... Is that it? Are those really the only important characters who died? No, Rickon does not count. I'll stop wasting time though. Let's just jump into cleaning up this piss stain of a script. And, for the most part, at the beginning of the episode, we can keep John and Ramsay having their little pish-posh dick-waving contest. But after, I want to add a new scene. We're at Winterfell, where we see Ramsay is talking to Small John and Harold Karstark about his plans to deal with Jon Snow, and they're quite simple. When Jon Snow begins the siege, Ramsay will display Rickon on the walls for him to see, demanding his surrender, and for every day Jon does not, he will remove a piece of Rickon. Starting with his fingers, then his toes, his hands, his feet, then his limbs, but promising that his maester will make sure that Rickon is alive and awake for every moment of it. And should he pass out from the pain, they can wait and simply continue when he wakes up. Small John is not a big fan about this. He would rather ride out with their superior army and crush Jon rather than allowing this siege to take place. Harold can tell him only an idiot would give up the advantage of a castle. Even if Jon does not surrender, they can simply wait him out, for winter is coming. The scene ends with Maester Wolkin coming in, holding a parchment and saying the words, "Lord Bolton, news from Moat Cailin." Now, for those of you who have foggy memory, 4 episodes ago, Sansa had a little chit-chat with Peter Baelish, who apparently rode north with the Knights of the Vale, and is currently just hanging out at Moat Cailin. And it is frankly fucking ridiculous that Ramsay had no idea that an army of another fucking kingdom was in his lands. So, Maester Wolkin's words imply that Ramsay is now learning of this, and this changes his plans. The North remnants and Vale forces together could take Winterfell, and once trapped in the walls, it would be a proper siege. Or worse, his allies who so quickly turned their cloaks to his side may very well do so again to save their own hides. Cut to the next scene. We have Jon, Davos, and Tormund all talking battle tactics. We're getting rid of Tormund looking like a dumbass for not knowing what a double envelopment means. I'm very confident he can figure it out given the context of the discussion. We're also changing Davos talking about how Ramsay has to come out of Winterfell to do battle, because no the fuck he doesn't. They should be making plans for a siege and talking about ideas on how to force him out. Tormund can bring up raiding the countryside. Sansa can dismiss this since they are her people and it wouldn't stir Ramsay either way, and this allows her to actually have useful input for once. Other options can be mentioned, sending men to scale the walls to destroy supplies, attempting to sap the walls, launching dead animals over the walls, but not being able to enact any of these ideas until the siege starts properly, Jon dismisses everyone so they can sleep and continue conversations in the morning. Sansa, however, does not leave. She sticks around, and instead of whinging about how John didn't ask for her thoughts and opinions, only for him to ask for it and retardation to come spilling out of her mouth, she instead is going to be straight and direct and say that Rickon's life is lost, and Ramsey will likely torture him to get John to surrender. John is clearly not a fan about this and is staying optimistic about saving Rickon. Sansa points out the battle is foolish and they can't hope to take Winterfell with what they have. John tells her they don't have a choice, there are no more men, and Sansa stays silent when he says that. John picks up on it and asks her if she knows where they can get more men. Sansa tells him that Peter is stationed at Mokellan with the Knights of the Vale, and is offering assistance. And John gets pissed about this, asking her if she knew this, why didn't she tell him, to which she confides that she does not trust Peter. After all, this was the man who handed her to the Boltons on a silver platter. They can't trust his help, it's why she refused. John looks surprised and yells in this heated emotional situation, how could she refuse? The Knights of the Vale could change everything, allowing Winterfell to be properly sieged, and with the extra men pushing them into an advantage, maybe they could negotiate Rickon's release, for pardons for the Karstarks, Umbers, even Ramsay, if it means that their brother survives. John stops mid-sentence, though, and asks Sansa how long the Knights have been at Mokellan, to which she says a week or so. John then realizes that there is no way that Ramsay has not heard about them, and if he were to learn about it, his best chance at victory would be to quickly kill the last Starks so that the Vale has no reason to be in the north. And then the horns bellow, warning of an attack. Yeah, it's a little coincidental and contrived for these things to happen very quickly and at a similar time, but for the pacing of the story, I think this justifies it. The battle lines begin to form as men take their place. One grabs a tree and rips it out of the ground. John mounts his horse and rides out to see for himself. The Boltons are here. They can't run away. Their horses are outnumbered and would easily ride them down if they tried to retreat. Their only hope is to hold the line. Before the battle begins proper, Ramsay has a routine he wants to do, riding out with Rickon being pulled behind him with a rope, and gives his demands. Complete surrender. The soldiers may go, but all nobility will become his prisoners and be judged as he is Warden of the North, or else Rickon dies. John does not give an answer. There is nothing but silence, and so Ramsay gets to work, flaying Rickon for the entire army to see. And here, we get the very first lines from Rickon, and they go as such. Ahem. John can't take it, and rides off, his horse galloping to desperately try and reach his brother, only to have Ramsay smirk as he falls into his trap. Davos panics and orders the horsemen to charge to save John, with Tormund doing the same with the infantry. John rides faster and faster, but in a moment stops. He pulls out a bow that was latched to his horse and grabs an arrow from a quiver on the other side. He knocks, draws, and looses. The arrow is aimed at Ramsay, who either moves out of the way or is pulled to the side by a soldier, and the arrow instead pierces Rickon, killing him. Ramsay looks shocked by it, and looks to John, who shows no emotion, no sadness. If anything, he looks relieved. John knocks an arrow again and takes another shot at Ramsay, but his guards are already at bay, holding their shields up to protect him. With the moment to kill Ramsay gone, John retreats back. The cavalry and infantry, seeing him return, also retreat to their original formation. Ramsay returns to his army and orders his archers to advance. They begin to open fire against John and his army, trying to force them to attack, but they hold firm, locking shields and bracing against the arrow storm. Some die, but they still hold on, not attacking, though they do launch their own archer fire in retaliation, but it's less effective due to not having as many archers, and in fact, John orders them to hold their fire. Either due to impatience or running out of arrows, Ramsay finally orders his men to attack, and being led by Small John, the infantry advances. The reason why it's the infantry instead of cavalry is because you're an idiot if you send your knights into a full frontal charge against an entrenched enemy. Also because of the mountains where they set up camp. Davos points this out in a prior episode. They're natural fortifications that limits the use of the horse riders, forcing the battle to be a choke point, Thermopylae style. Once closer in range, Jon orders his archers to begin firing once again. Due to the closer targets, as well as marching forward causing some natural breaking of formation, the damage done is greater than what the Boltons did to them, but not enough to dissuade them. Eventually, the two lines meet, and we get a proper line battle. Men standing shoulder to shoulder with shields, spears, and blades, butchering and hacking away. Jon is leading on the front line, standing side by side with his men. There is little tactical choice to be made in this situation. All they can do is hold. 1-1 is a monster on the battlefield, swinging the tree trunk like a club as he smashes the enemy from a distance. Pikemen try to outrange the beast, but it's no use. Never underestimate the power of a big fucking stick. We could also maybe cut to Sansa and Lyanna Mormont, watching the battle play out from a distance, frustrated at what's happening. Eventually, Ramsay orders a tactical withdrawal, and as the lines grow apart, we see the bodies of the dead lying down. Some screaming for help, but are clearly beyond saving. Jon doesn't know what Ramsay's plan is until he sees the archers step forward, past the infantry. He thinks Ramsay might be committing them to melee, but he notices that they have recovered arrows, most likely from the ones that were fired upon them and hit the dirt. Jon tells his men to brace for a point-blank volley. Ramsay gives the order to knock, draw, and loose. Yet when the arrows fly, only one person yells in pain. 1-1. He tries to use the tree trunk to protect himself, but it's not large enough. All of the archer fire pelts against him, causing him to drop the tree trunk, which falls forward, landing on some of the men in Jon's army, causing an opening in the formation. The Great Jon is the first to charge in, with his men crying out for blood right behind him. Jon tries to order his men back into formation, but with the tree in the way, and now the archers using suppressive fire to keep the men near the opening pinned down, it's too late. The massive man leaps up to the tree trunk and hacks his way past the soldiers. The Boltons follow through, with many of the pikemen targeting 1-1. Without his trunk, they can now outrange him and harm him. He is still able to fight back and kill a few, but at the end, he is surrounded, punctured, and killed. It's not entirely lost. Davos lets out his own cry and orders the archers to follow him. With no arrows, they might as well be used to try and plug that hole. Jon does his best to reorganize his men, but it's difficult, especially once the rest of the Bolton forces fall on top of him. He commands Tormund to go and plug that fucking hole, who, of course, runs off quickly. This is where we get a proper fight between Tormund Giantsbane and Small Jon Umber. Not that stupid-ass headbutting match in the original. I am not a fight choreographer, so I won't even try to describe the fight, but it's super cool. There's like blades and like swings and like cool insults like, oh, you're a fucking kneeler, like, oh, you're a goat fucker, stuff like that. Both guys are heavily wounded, but in the end, Tormund does get the upper hand and kills him. This shatters the morale of the Umber soldiers who charged in after Small Jon, and so begin to be pushed back. Jon is able to reorganize and get into formation with his men. This was the one chance to smash through the line, and Ramsay knew it, and it's gone. It's at this point a man rides over to Ramsay and tells him that riders have been spotted. They're coming in to smash against the rear of the Bolton forces. Ramsay says it's impossible, the Knights of the Vale are too far away. But it becomes clear when he sees the banners of the riders. They do not fly the sky blue falcon of the Vale, but instead the silver trout of the Riverlands. Brynden Tully, along with Brienne of Tarth, that's right, I'm still saying Brienne, have arrived to help. At least, that's what I want to do, but these fuckers killed Brynden for no good reason a few episodes before, and I already said I couldn't make Larn changes like that, but how fucking cool would have that been? I thought about other options, like maybe the Manderleys could come in and help out, but I decided that it would be best to have this victory be entirely on Jon Snow. With the death of Small Jon, the Bolton forces are pushed back and do an organized retreat. Ramsay is furious and orders them to attack again, yet all of his men just look up at him. Anger, hatred, but most of all, exhaustion. Ramsay can't let this spiral out of control and so acts swiftly. Riding out, he approaches Jon Snow and says, "You suggested single combat. I think that's a wonderful idea." Jon Snow, his face covered in mud and blood, his arms aching from the battle, holds up his sword, steps out of formation, and accepts the challenge. Now, I am torn on how this fight should play out. Should it be a serious nail-biting fight between the two? I mean, book Ramsay isn't all that great, but show Ramsay killed apparently some of the greatest fighters the Ironborn had, half naked. But there is a part of me that wants to see him just getting his shit stomped by Jon Snow, despite how tired and possibly even injured he is. I'm not talking about Timothy versus Robert levels of pathetic, that is way too much, but maybe more like Hisoka versus Godo from Hunter x Hunter. A fun fight, but there really isn't any serious doubt who wins. Either way, Jon Snow does win, obviously. And we can either have him capture Ramsay so Sansa can feed him to the dogs like in the show, which I'm not the biggest fan of, or just have Jon cut him down then and there. You all can choose. But there we go. That is how I would remake Battle of the Bastards. Is it the greatest battle ever made? Probably not, but it sure as shit is better than what we got. Anyways, if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time though, be safe, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.